Hello, and welcome to Fox Morality. I'm Nathan Schutz.
And I'm Colin Byrne.
Tonight, we begin with a breaking news piece straight from CIA headquarters.
As constituting torture. Now, the Senate Intelligence Committee report on the operation has made it clearer than ever that the CIA used many forms of enhanced interrogation to elicit information. These are very harsh methods indeed that simply do not yield the intended results.
I'm here today with a student, part of the Regis Jesuit Theology program. Willem, how do you find this story related to what you've learned so far this year in junior theology?
In junior theology this year, we looked at S.J. Kavanaugh's article, Being Human, and I noticed that through the CIA things and looking at the Being Human article, we see a big argument over subjective versus objective morality. So, these CIA officials who are interrogating in quite brutal ways these criminals for information on terrorist organizations, they might see it as a good thing out of their subjective views due to the intelligence they're gathering to save human lives. But from an objective kind of point of view of what God tells us to do in His message to love others, this is not the effective way to gather information. We see these CIA individuals waterboarding and using brutal tactics against these interrogatees to gather information about terrorist organizations. Overall, their subjective sort of input on this is not the way to go. This is not a good way to get this information from these interrogatees. It is a brutal and not realistic way to get this information. We should look to other ways, such as asking them or just keeping them in prison until they're able to give this information.
It's unbelievable how morality can just slip out of sight like that.
Good thing there are still people in the world who can see the difference between right and wrong.
Our next story comes to us from reporter Ply Woodrow.
More and more employers are turning to personality tests to probe the corners of job seekers' minds and confirm whether they're as wonderful as they say they are. Applicants who thought they could charm their way into a job with a sparkling interview or dazzle with their technical skills are finding that the game has changed. Many employers want applicants to write job personality tests because they want a screening tool to immune to charm and blind technical dazzle. They see the tests as a crystal ball that will help predict applicants' future performance. Employers' growing reliance on personality tests is driven by a desire to avoid the costly error of hiring the wrong person, says Dan Montiero, president of Vancouver-based Catalyst Training Services, which provides personality tests to organizations of all sizes. We decided to dig even deeper and get an interview with Willem, a student in Miss Moran's theology class. So Willem, how does this recent finding correspond with what you have done this year in junior theology?
This year in junior theology in the Unit 1 Who Am I course, we took personality tests such as the Myers-Briggs tests, which kind of told us who we are as individuals and how we interact in certain situations. This really helped us see who and how we can be effective at our studies and how we can really reach our full potential as individuals and see what we can do as individuals. So when we took these tests, it would show us if we were extroverted, introverted, or more categorized or more open. And these things really helped us learn how to control ourselves and really how to bring what we have to the table and be effective. And seeing that these tests are also used in workplaces makes a lot of sense, because if they pair people who do not have these similar sort of personalities, then it's going to be very hard for them to work together and coerce and be effective in what they do.
Are these personality tests actually effective in your opinion?
I actually found the personality tests quite effective. I was a little skeptical in the beginning, but once I took it and saw that most of the sort of categorizations I was placed in were quite accurate. I was placed in the extroverted categorization, and I believe that I am quite an extroverted person. I was a bit skeptical in the beginning that these weren't going to be very realistic, that they couldn't really tell who I was based on a categorization. But after seeing what the results were, I see that these can be effective and really place us into certain categories of how we can work with others and how we can be individuals and see ourselves in what we are and how we can be effective in doing what we do.
Thank you, Owen.
Polls in media sure are becoming popular, it seems.
Agreed. Social media itself is becoming a huge outlet for what's going on in the world.
One of the biggest topics blowing up the social media world is racism throughout America. Whether it's full-blown racism or just subtle comments or thoughts, it has prompted us here at Fox Morality to ask ourselves the question, am I a racist?
I think many people in our society are racist. I think racism is a big problem, minor and major, in our society. Many of the cases, such as Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, and Trayvon Martin, have really raised the question, am I racist, in our society, as people are trying to make their own decision based on, was he right, was he wrong? I feel like based on a lot of these claims in all these cases, we're very quick to judge people. We're quick to judge on Michael Brown cases, Trayvon Martin cases, and that in cases such as Michael Brown, we're quick to jump to the conclusion that he was doing something wrong and that he deserved the bullets in his back, which may not be the case, but we always jump to that conclusion. May it be based on the color of his skin? I don't know. I feel like in a lot of these cases we stereotype the people because Trayvon Martin was black and he was walking through his community at night and it was just a bad situation.
White superiority is definitely a huge source of prejudice in our country, but we decided to open our minds to the bigger picture.
More than most people realize, poverty is striking our country hard. To make change, the problem has to be recognized by all.
We took to the streets to test how people deal with homelessness in this specific area.
When Adam, a 13-year-old Swedish boy, was assigned to create a street art project, he decided to use it as an opportunity to devise a social experiment. The innovative 7th grader built a beggar out of supplies he had around the house, placed them on a number of street corners in Gothenburg, and waited to see how passerby would react, he told the Huffington Post in an email. Most people just walked by and tried hard not to look at the beggar, Adam said in his email. After a few hours, the homeless man had earned a little more than $1, and Adam gave the money away to an actual person without shelter. While the beggar didn't get that much money, Adam learned a lesson about helping the less fortunate that he hopes people will take to heart. I think that homelessness is something that affects many people, and I believe that many do not know how they should relate to the homelessness, whether to give money or not, the precious teen said. I hope the project might teach people to really see others a little bit more.
Wow, if only more people could recognize the lack of compassion and love in this world.
Love is not the only thing lacking in today's society. Depression and stress rates are going up, while happiness seems to slowly be disintegrating from today's society.
Here's Bryant Morninglove with your in-depth report.
Stress levels for Americans have taken a downward turn across the USA, except for young adults whose stress is higher than the national norm, says a survey to be released Thursday. Those ages 18 through 33, the millennial generation, are plenty stressed, and it's not letting up. 39% say their stress has increased in the past year. 52% say stress has kept them awake at night in the past month. And more than any other age group, they report being told by a health care provider that they have either depression or an anxiety disorder. In this poll, it shows the graphs of each age group and then the extreme stress that comes from being American and having items that cause stress in life. This is also a poll showing depression and anxiety on USA Today for each generation, showing that the millennials have the most amount of depression and anxiety Here we show the coping with stress. The millennials are more likely to do different stress methods. And then the source for all these stress comes from work, money, relationships, family responsibilities, and the economy. So overall, this relates back to our Unit 3 in our current events page because we showed that USA Today is keeping up with the amount of stress and success and happiness in the world. And also, the happiness documentary goes along with this, and then the defense mechanisms that we learned in Unit 1. The happiness documentary focused on ways that people have become depressed, and then also how they have increased their happiness throughout their lives. And then the defense mechanisms are related upon the way that people react to certain items in their life and how that affects their happiness, and then also their depression and stress rates go up or down from the related activity or action or event.
Well, it seems that's all the time we've got tonight. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm Nathan Schutz.
And I'm Colin Byrne.
Have a great night.